Sensex and Nifty open higher on Friday. Sensex jumps over 500 points, while Nifty few points away from hitting lifetime high. Most sectoral indices in the green. Nifty IT up almost 5%, boosted by Infosys and TCS. Nifty Auto emerges as the top sectoral loser. We spoke to TCS CEO K. Krithivasan, who tells us they remain cautiously optimistic on their order book and expect better macroeconomic environment to drive growth. Meanwhile, Infosys trims its revenue guidance to 1.5% to 2%. And more IT earnings on the radar today. HCL Tech and Wipro to post their quarterly earnings. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the most awaited and India's longest sea bridge, the Trans Harbour Link in Mumbai. Hello and welcome. I am Agam, Vakil, and you're watching the F&O Show, a show in which we take you through all that is happening in the futures and options space in Indian markets. But a quick look at the benchmarks at the moment, and where we are seeing some amount of positivity on account of the IT sector. Heavyweights TCS and Infosys are advancing, and because of that, we're seeing the Nifty advance by as much as 0.7%. So we do have gains in the Nifty, consequently the Sensex, and let's also take a look at the Bank Nifty as well to see whether or not there has been some positive traction there. Overall, the market breadth has certainly improved as far as your benchmarks are concerned. To take a very quick look at your broader market indices too and see how they're faring, and at least as far as the mid-cap index is concerned, that's up 0.3%, so underperforming the benchmarks, but advances all the same for the small cap index, which in fact is matching that and in moving in tandem with the benchmark. So the small cap index is up around 0.7%. Now let's talk about the futures and options space, and that's where things will be a lot more interesting. And in terms of what we're seeing with respect to the Nifty futures, as you can see, not too much increase in OI as far as your index futures go, but the underlying has been advancing by around 0.8%. Remember, yesterday we did see an increase in OI. So I reckon that at least traders for now are holding on to their longs. Whether or not there could be some amount of profit taking later on the session, that's a wait and watch. Of course, it's a Friday, so that seasonal element comes as well as far as the final hour of trade goes. But for now, of course, we continue to see a lot more traction and a lot more writing in both the 21,700 calls and puts in today's day of trade, which also leads the 21,700 call to be the one with the max OI, and on the lower end, we're looking at a bit of narrowing of range, so to speak. But we do have a lot of writing around 21,500 puts. That's as far as the markets are concerned. Let's get in our experts for today on that note. We have Aditya Agarwala, head research at investments for Invest for Edu, and Amardev Singh, head of advisory at Angel One. Good morning to both of you, and thanks for joining in. Aditya, I start with you. Your assessment on the Nifty now that the big IT earnings are behind us.
Good morning, Agam. Thanks for the show. I believe it's the start of a fresh up move on the Nifty, if nothing else, because we did see a good consolidation. And what is interesting to see, Agam, every time market corrects, it takes a support at the key support areas, and then from there it bounces back. And every time there is a new sector or maybe a stock which drives the up move in the Nifty, like today it's IT. Couple of days back it was Reliance which was holding ground. So I believe there's a lot of stocks. There are a lot of sectors and stocks which will keep its momentum, keep the Nifty's momentum up and going. I don't see too much of a correction in the Nifty, despite the fact that it looks a little overbought, without a doubt. But at every lower levels, there is buying seen. So 21,800 is something that I'm eyeing closely. As you mentioned at the start of the show, a few put writings are also seen closer to about 21,800. So if bulls manage to hold on to 21,800 in the second half of the trading session, my sense is we will inch closer to 22,000 maybe next week. So this is what I'm eyeing for, Agam. And I'm not bearish at the moment, to be very honest. In fact, if Nifty sustains above above 21,850, 21,840 for some time, maybe for half an hour from here on, I would want to go long on the markets and look for a target of 22,000 with a clear stop loss closer to about 21,750 on the downside.
Right. Even if we close at around 21,800, it will be closing at a live high. It's something on a wait-and-watch basis. But Amar, good morning to you as well. How are you reading cues as far as the Nifty goes?
Yeah, actually, we've been bullish on Nifty for quite some time, despite the consolidation which we've been witnessing over the past few trading sessions. Because if you look at the overall long-term as well as the intermediate-term trend, they continue to display very strong bullish momentum. So effectively what's happening is we are seeing sector rotation also. Earlier we were seeing real estate, then we saw auto, then we saw banking. Initially we had seen IT. Again, we've seen a very good spike in IT today on post the results of TCS and Infosys. So overall, and also a couple of indicators, like if you look at the stocks which are trading above the 200-day moving average, that's almost 87-88%. So that's a sign of a very strong bull market. Secondly, if you look at the India VIX, that continues to trade around between 12-13. So that also is within very comfortable levels. And also the global cues have been positive. There's nothing being negative despite the US and UK attack on some Yemen, I would say, installations. So markets have really taken the stride. And also if you look at the advanced decline, that also has been positive. If you look at the stocks which are trading at all-time high, that also is a very strong number. So these clearly indicate that any correction should be used as a buying opportunity. On the downside, Nifty's got strong support coming around 21,500, 550 zone. Upside resistance, immediate zone of resistance are 21,850 to 21,900. But any dip is a buying opportunity. One should be, however, slightly cautious, and because it's more of a trading range which the markets are actually into right now.
Okay, let's shift focus to the Bank Nifty then. Amar, I'll come back to you on this one. Your reading on the Bank Nifty, and how would you place your bets here?
See, if you look at Bank Nifty has been more subdued today as compared to Nifty on the back of the Nifty IT, of course. But what we are seeing in Bank Nifty again, that Bank Nifty is currently around very strong, very crucial support zones. So currently some 47,600 downside. Major support zone is around the 47,000 level. Ideally, that should not be breached. In case that is breached, then we could witness some selling, because if you look at the banking heavyweights, like for example, HDFC Bank. So HDFC Bank is again more or less from a medium-term perspective, very positive, short-term perspective, more or less consolidation. If I look at ICICI Bank, again a heavyweight, that's turning positive on the short term as well as the intermediate term trend. So that's a positive sign. So for Bank Nifty, for any meaningful rally, it needs to sustain above the 48,000 levels. Currently it's around 47,630 or so. So sustaining above 48,000 levels would trigger that we could witness an upside. Otherwise, it's more of a range play in Bank Nifty as of now.
Right. Range play as far as the Bank Nifty goes. Aditya, your view on this one?
So Mangalam, I'll stick my neck out and I would want to go long on the Bank Nifty. Look at the internals of the Bank Nifty, maybe a HDFC Bank or an ICICI Bank or an Axis Bank or a Kotak Mahindra Bank for that matter. All these stocks are due for a rally. Past few weeks or maybe a month, I would suggest. They haven't done much for itself. So if the Nifty has to hold grounds, IT has already participated in today's trading session. Like I mentioned, Reliance Heavyweight has already participated. So it's time banks actually now take leadership. And I would like to place my bets on these heavyweight banks, be it an ICICI or an HDFC or an Axis Bank. And I believe matter of time before Bank Nifty breaks out of that hurdle of 48,000 and inches closer to about 48,500 or 48,900 on the upside. So I would be more gung-ho on a Bank Nifty from current levels because I'm looking at a outperformance from a lot of these heavyweight banks which have been underperforming now.
Okay, and well, it's only natural that we talk about TCS and Infosys. So I'm going to take up each of these counters with each of our experts here. Aditya, I'll come to you and I'll talk to you about Infi because that's the bigger mover for now. And we are looking at a good 4.5-5% increase. Oh, Infosys is at 7% gains now at intraday low highs. What's the way forward? Are you seeing a good amount of traction now towards longs? And would you go ahead and initiate a new long even at these levels?
That's for me, Agam?
Yes, that's for you, Aditya.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And time and again, this is one space that I've been quite bullish on, especially the large cap IT names. And I would place my bets on Infosys even after 7% up move. Mind you, this is more from a medium to longer term time horizon that I'm looking at placing my bets, not for an intraday perspective. I believe it's just the start of a fresh up move for Infosys, keeping the fundamentals aside, not getting into it. I believe it's time one should actually start nibbling into the stock if you're still waiting on the sidelines to buy Infosys. And from here on, I'm looking at a target of at least 1750 to about 1800 on the upside. That's an immediate term target. And if 1800 is taken out, Agam, I believe stock is good to go to levels of 1950 as well. So first off, Infosys definitely looks very strong on the charts. Second, TCS, if I were to talk about, yes, Agam, that is also something that's looking very interesting. Surprisingly, it hasn't corrected much because of the buyback and all news going around for the stock. So that actually held the stock quite well. And it's a matter of time before it breaks out of that hurdle of 4050 zone. So if that is that takes place in the coming weeks' time, I believe TCS2 could test levels of 4150 to about 4200. So both these stocks, Infosys and TCS, I would like to place my long bets here and continue to hold on to them at least for a quarterly from here on.
Okay, and of course, there's a huge gap up as far as TCS is concerned. Before I go to Amar on TCS, I want to very quickly talk about the Nifty because it's inched up and it's around 21,820. Do remember that the intraday life high, intraday all-time high for the Nifty is at around 21,834, 35 odd mark. So keep an eye on that. We're not too far away from there. It's just another milestone. It's not a huge deal, but it's a milestone all the same. So it's something that we certainly need to keep an eye on. But Amar, a big gap up for TCS as well in today's day of trade, and also potential of taking out its previous high. Your view on TCS and how would you trade this one?
I would say that if I look at the IT stocks, particularly TCS and Infosys, so they continue to display strong momentum. And what I see here is that TCS is trading firm and it needs to sustain above the 3900, 3950 mark because that's a zone of immediate resistance. But if you look at the structure on the charts, that continues to be positive for TCS. If I look at from an intermediate term trend, from a long term trend, that continues to remain extremely positive. So TCS above 3950, it would rally significantly towards the 4100, 4150 mark.
Okay, that's your view on the two bellwethers from the information technology sector. Time for a quick break, but don't go anywhere. On the other side, we continue the conversation on stock futures. Stay tuned in. Welcome back to the Futures and Options show. Well, we are taking up stock ideas now from our experts. Aditya, let's start with what you have on your radar. I believe it's ICICI Bank and Godrej Properties.
Yes, Agam. The first one is a banking stock, like I mentioned. I'm a little upbeat on the banks. So ICICI Bank is looking interesting at current levels, offers good risk to reward ratio as well. So buy at current levels, look for a target of 1,030 to 1,050 on the upside with a stop loss at 985 on the downside. And real estate has been doing phenomenally well for itself. And from the start of the morning session, they are buzzing around. So Godrej Properties is looking interesting on the charts. Buy at current levels. Look for a target of 2,400 on the upside with a stop loss at 2,200 on the downside.
All right, that's well, your view on ICICI Bank and Godrej Properties. And Amar, I believe you have on your radar Birlasoft and Mahanagar Gas. Can you take us through these ones?
Yeah, the first one is Birlasoft. So what we are seeing in Birlasoft is that the stock was consolidating and then it was unable to breach earlier the 740, 750 zone. So that has been taken out, and then also over the last few trading sessions, there has been significant volume as well as delivery. And technically, it's very strong on the medium term as well as the long term chart. So this is one stock one can definitely look at. So buying at current levels around 770 levels with a stop loss of 737 and a target of 823 on the upside. And the second stock to look at is the Mahanagar Gas. This is one stock which is very strong. It did correct recently, but then again has bounced back, continues to be very strong on the long term as well as the intermediate term trend. And also what we're seeing in the intermediate term trend is the bullish momentum has been on the increase. So this is one stock one can look at entering with a stop loss of 1197 and a target of 1325 on the upside.
Okay, so those are our trading ideas as far as our experts are concerned. I want to also pull up that list of all the open interest gainers and losers in today's day of trade in the futures and options space, because that could perhaps give us more ideas here. So let's start by taking a look at all the stocks which are seeing an increase in open interest. And we do have Tata Consumers, which is right at the top of the gainers list. So Tata Consumers, of course, is advancing by around 2.5%. The whole FMCG sector in general has certainly been in focus, well, but for mixed reasons. Besides that, we have Coforge, which is also in focus, seeing a 13% increase in open interest towards longs. Amar has already spoken about Birlasoft, which is also one of the key gainers from the IT pack today, and Chambal Fertilizers advancing, and of course there's Infi. Infi, of course, is the clear gainer in terms of its underlying on an intraday basis, and 3 of the 5 gainers in open interest are from the information technology space. That's not very surprising considering the kind of gains that we've seen, because TCS and Infosys kind of sets the tone for the kind of expectations in terms of earnings. Remember that if we do see even a little bit of improvement in terms of earnings for your bellwethers like Infi and TCS, the growth prospects for some of your relatively smaller names is even more. And a lot of them are still vying for double-digit growth. So that, of course, may likely augur well for a whole host of these relatively smaller names in the information technology sector. Let's pull up that list of all the stocks which are seeing an decline in open interest. And so we do have about a short covering for Polycab. It's not over the mark of 4,000 at the moment, but we are seeing about a short covering all the same, even as we see about a 5% decline in open interest, up 3% for now. Hero MotoCorp is the other one. This is a curious one which saw a lot of strength yesterday, and today, while it's flattish, so we are seeing unwinding. So potentially some amount of profits being taken off the table as far as Hero MotoCorp is concerned. Metropolis is the other one. It did see some gains, but today it is seeing a decline of around 5%. Longs and winding there. MGL, of course, one of our experts cues, I believe it's Amar, he's taken through that one as well and advancing today. So about a short covering. And BHEL, that's always been the curious one, hasn't it? That's also largely flattish, but we are seeing a decline in OI to the tune of around 1.6%. Let's take up Polycab with Amar. Amar, if you can come in on this one, I reckon that would you recommend, at least will traders stay away towards the long side? Would you, in fact, go ahead and sell this at this point in time once we see that short covering come through?
See, Polycab is a very nice saying that don't try to catch a falling knife. So the way the stock has really cracked from almost 6,000 levels currently to around 4,000 levels. So if you look at the intermediate term trend for the stock was clearly displaying, I would say, since the second week of December, that it's the top that it has made, that's more likely to be a top. And so there could be some further correction, but it's approaching around very crucial support zones. If I talk about the levels, 3,700, that's a crucial support zone for Polycab. Maybe if it comes to that level and consolidates, then maybe we can look at an opportunity, not at the current levels, because even if there is a pullback, that's more likely to be a dead cat bounce. So it would bounce back, and then again we could see some sell-off. So let the stock consolidate. And whenever a stock falls of such magnitude, you have to give it some time to consolidate before entry.
Okay. All right. There you have it. That's a view on Polycab. It's important to see a little bit of a consolidation before you, in fact, want to jump in on a trend, a positive one or a negative one. For now, well, it's best to stay away from Polycab because we aren't really determining, that kind of a move, at least in terms of trends. Well, on that note, going to take a moment to thank both our experts for joining us and taking us through their views on the markets, as well as, suggesting a handful of stock trading ideas. For now, as far as markets are concerned, well, we are looking at the Nifty, fingers crossed, making perhaps new life highs as we speak. On an intraday basis, we haven't made a new life high yet, but I reckon that we're not too far away from that. 10 points to be precise. And that's going to be a wait and watch. It's not improbable, with the way things are going at the moment and the kind of impetus that you're seeing, largely on the back of TCS and Infosys, and they are also relative heavyweights as far as gains are concerned. Look at that. Look at the contribution coming through on account of Infosys and TCS. Infosys is contributing to as much as 86 points in the positive for the Nifty. That's about 0.25% by itself. And you have TCS as well, which is doing its bit and contributing there. We have the other heavyweight, that's ICICI Bank. And HCL Technologies, it seems, is taking cues from its larger peers and also advancing in trade and, giving that little bit of an up move there. The advanced decline ratio may have, moderated to a certain extent over the previous few, previous 1 hour for that matter, but it's positive all the same, and that's the big takeaway. As long as it's positive, it's good. From there on, we move on to another positive story. India's longest sea bridge is set to open today. The Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link is expected to slash the current commute time of 2 hours between Shivri to Chichle to a mere 22 minutes. Saloni Kothari brings us more details.
The much-awaited dream project of Mumbai is coming to reality as the Mumbai Trans-Harbour Link is set to open on 12th of January. It's going to be inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The link helps you reduce your travel time that takes from South Bombay to Navi Mumbai. With the help of this link, it's going to take you about 20 minutes, which typically has been taking you more than 2 hours. It is also going to help you to reach places such as Bangalore, Pune and Goa.
Many are firsts for India's longest sea bridge in terms of technology advancement. We spoke to MMRDA Chief Sanjay Mukherjee, who elaborated more on this.
इस ब्रिज के लिए हमने अगर टेक्नोलॉजिकली हम सोचे तो कुछ ऐसे टेक्नोलॉजीज यूज हुए हैं जो पहली बार भारत में इस्तेमाल हुआ है. उसमें से उल्लेखनीय अगर देखें तो लॉन्ग स्पैन्स, यानी 180 मीटर तक के 4 स्पैन है इसमें, 150 मीटर के स्पैन से, 165 मीटर के स्पैन से, 140 के स्पैन से. इसके लिए एक विशेष जापानीज टेक्नोलॉजी ऑर्थोट्रोपिक स्टील डेक, इसका इस्तेमाल किया गया है.
We started from Shivri and we have crossed more than half of the length of the bridge. As you can see that we have crossed about 13 kilometers from where the bridge was started. Let me remind you that this is India's longest sea bridge because it covers more than 21.8 kilometers in area, out of which 5.5 kilometers is made on top of the land and the remaining 16 kilometers is on top of the sea. And as you can see that we are on top of the middle of the sea.
The Commissioner also spoke about how environmental impact and marine lives were taken into consideration while building the bridge. Noise barriers have been put up along with measures to ensure number of flamingos migrating through this route stay intact.
That was quite a tour of India's longest sea bridge. Now let me tell you, it does not come free of cost. You will have to pay about Rs 250 as toll for using the bridge, which will be collected automatically without you having to stop at any booth for paying the toll. It's called the open tolling system. It's first of a kind used in India.